kids, we were fed this narrative that there was always, you had to go somewhere else to find work, that work wasn't in West Virginia. So right away it was go to school, move out of state to find work. It's just not true. I couldn't help but move back to West Virginia. My family's here, the beauty, the jobs are here. We have industry, we have cheap natural gas, some of the cheapest natural gas in the state.
It really boils down to just how business friendly this community is. The talent base here is exceptional. The location to the local transportation system, supply chain is excellent. You know, the local, the regional, and the state government are just wildly supportive of us in business in West Virginia.
We're 14 employees right here in Triadelphia, West Virginia, just outside of Wheeling. This location is central to one of the largest coal deposits in the world. It is a very business-friendly state. We've gotten support in a lot of different areas: training, business development, assistance with regulatory requirements. Our mission at Seafoam is to provide the world with innovative, new carbon-based materials made from coal. We don't think there's a better place to do it than West Virginia.
Octana will continue to say yes, West Virginia, because we're growing here and we're really happy with our team. And our team wants us here, and we're going to continue to grow. We're going to grow as big as we possibly can. So for us, West Virginia has been a welcoming home and one where we're very comfortable.
The reason why Dow Chemical continues to say yes to West Virginia is because of the people that work for us. A very talented and skilled and friendly workforce. We are a family here, and we treat each other like one.
Good morning, everyone. Am I on? I don't think I'm on. Hello, good morning. I'm on now. All right, good morning, everyone. I'm going to apologize if my voice goes out today because I might have screamed at the TV a lot last night. And the only other thing I'm going to say about last night is I would suggest that maybe next year we invite the refs to the Business Summit and we do a whole session on targeting. And maybe they would understand what that meant a little better, right? So, we are going to get started this morning on, if you have raffle tickets, if you would within the next hour, please go back and put them in at the chamber booth, drop those off, so that you'll be eligible for the prizes, the door prizes. Also, we want to award our winners this morning for clay shooting yesterday, sporting clay winners. So, our first winner who came in first place was Jason Harshbarger. Is Jason here yet this morning? I can tell you I did witness conversations between Jason and Bob Orndorff yesterday. It wasn't pretty. Jason might have rubbed it in a little bit, but. All right, and our second is Brian Dayton. And third is Greg Hoyer. All right, and then we also have in the women's category, Jill Scarborough. And I understand that this was Jill's first time of actually doing clay shooting yesterday, and she won. So is Jill here? I don't know if Jill's here this morning, but we will pass these out. Second place. Did you get? You got first. All right. Okay. Thank you. All right, and again, just don't forget to put your raffle tickets at the chamber booth. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started this morning. We're going to dive right into the program and talk about economic development this morning. It has been so exciting to see West Virginia hit home run after home run this year. And there are two individuals who have been at the center of negotiating those deals. And if you've been here all week, you have seen the fruits of their labor with all of the companies that were on stage and came to join us this week. So Mike Rainey was appointed as the Executive Director of the West Virginia Development Office by Governor Jim Justice in 2018 and was appointed Executive Director of the West Virginia Department of Economic Development upon the creation of that cabinet position. From 1991 to 2015, he was the president of One Stop, a chain of convenience stores in West Virginia, and has a wealth of experience in the petroleum industry. He earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Virginia and his MBA from the University of Virginia as well. And also on the stage today is Mitch Carmichael. Mitch was appointed the state's first Secretary of Economic Development in 2021. Mitch's career has been defined as service to the state of West Virginia. He served in the House of Delegates from 2000 to 2012 and was elected to the state Senate in 2012. Following the Republican Party takeover of the majority for the first time since the Great Depression, Mitch was selected as majority leader. In 2017, his colleagues elected him to serve as president of the Senate and the lieutenant governor of West Virginia. So please join me in welcoming Mike and Mitch to the stage.
Good morning.
Did you yell as loud as I did last time?
I'm a Marshall guy. I'm kidding. No, it was a great game. Just didn't end quite right. But anyhow, welcome and good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I am Mitch Carmichael. Mike's going to join me on the stage here in just a few moments at the conclusion of my remarks. But I'm here this morning really to tell you a story about West Virginia that really hasn't been told very often and hasn't been told enough. I want to thank everyone really at the Business Summit for all your enthusiasm and effort and the things that you have brought forth over the past several years. I've been coming to these events for several years, and how many times have we gotten on this stage and talk about if we could just get this policy right, West Virginia would win in these competitive races and competitive competitions for business and opportunity. And the Chamber has brought forth all of the different policy positions that needed to be accomplished. People in this room have, through your Chamber of Commerce, brought forth and put in documented forms the opportunities and the bills and the legislation that's required to put West Virginia in the game for competition for these businesses and jobs and so forth. And I'm happy to report that mostly all of those things have now been adopted. And today, and what we saw yesterday, is the triumph of policy over politics. Because you have put forth those policies that the legislature, and I've been through many of them, and the other great legislators in the room, and the support of the Chamber, those were not easy decisions. They were not frankly, they were easy decisions. They're just very hard to politically implement. And when West Virginia gets competitive and we have the policy right, we can compete and win against anyone. And so I'm going to speak a little bit today about what we're doing to bring investment to West Virginia, the policy positions that are necessary to continue the momentum that we've built, and then the value proposition that West Virginia takes to the world with your help to recruit companies and businesses to West Virginia. But first I want to recognize really the efforts of those who have gone before us in these roles. I know that Woody Thrasher was here previously. I saw Ed Gaunch in the audience, who has done so much. And frankly, the Chamber, everyone in this room. Think about the policy positions that you've brought forth and advocated, Steve, on behalf of the Chamber in these rooms over those many years. And so it's really a moment to celebrate the policy positions that have been achieved and that we're winning now in the marketplace. Because we celebrated what? Yesterday we had American Medicines, Green Power, Pure Watercraft, Owens & Minor, Sparks, Nucor. Those wins represent over 5,500 jobs in West Virginia and over $6 billion in investments, all totaled up. So, and those make you feel that momentum, and we talked about those that were here with us yesterday, but we also, the ones that we don't have in the room. We had TCL going to Webster County, Mountaintop Beverage in Morgantown, Unbio in Morgantown, Omnis in Princeton, 22nd Century in Elkins, American Carbon in Wyoming County. I could go on and on and on, and there are more to follow, because these are the wins and the opportunities that you have put us in the position to go sell to the world. We have the right policy positions in place, and we have the right team in place to market that proposition to the world. And I want to just step back and talk a little bit about what we have done over the past several years to get us to this point and the policy positions that have been in place. First, let's talk about, we had 4 or 5 tenants, and I see Senate President Blair in the back of the room, and he was very instrumental, and Speaker Hanshaw, in moving these elements forward. We have judicial reform. How long was West Virginia #1 on the judicial hellhole list every year since its inception? Like every one of them. Every year. We were the only state in America to be on that judicial hellhole list. It's been reformed. West Virginia has received awards from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce as the most improved judicial climate in America. And it's a result of the people in this room, and we talk about it when we go to the marketplace and try to recruit and win businesses to our state. We've got the Intermediate Appellate Court. We have labor law changes. We are a right-to-work state. We have remote worker opportunities. And so those type things are very important to the rest of the world as they look at West Virginia. In terms of education, we have done so much to advance an improved education system in our state. And when we go to the world again and tell the story of West Virginia, one of the most important aspects of it, and we heard it yesterday over and over, is a workforce. And West Virginia is one of only a few states in America that provides no-cost community and technical college education to every citizen in West Virginia, and businesses love to know that they can get their workforce trained in a world-class environment with our community and technical college system at no cost. And so it is very important. It's a differentiator, and we win on that basis many times. In terms of regulatory environment, West Virginia has the most reformed regulatory system in America. We have eliminated over 1,500 rules and regulations. We all want clean water, clean air. But when it comes to government bureaucrats perpetuating themselves through rules and regulations, we want to put a stop to that. And the legislature's done that. The Chamber's been very instrumental in advancing that cause. And because of that, we're winning in the marketplace. And then on the tax structures, and you'll hear more about that in a moment, West Virginia has one of the most competitive tax structures, save a couple of different elements that you'll talk about in a little bit. But we have one of the very best tax systems in America, the way we market it to the world. So what we're doing to actually win in the marketplace in our office is creating a sales culture. This is not just going out and offering different opportunities. We want to be proactive. We don't want to just go to a conference and somebody leave you a business card and, that stops at that point. We are proactively marketing the advantages of West Virginia. And we do so by, I get accused all the time of always saying yes. And, I hear some laughter here. Because, frankly, I do. We never say no without an alternative. We want to find a way to yes for every one of these businesses and opportunities. And so we're very aggressive in finding there's always a way. And, we take it very seriously. We come to our office every day with our hair on fire to make sure that we're winning businesses and opportunity for the state of West Virginia, because all the healthcare elements that we talked about yesterday, all the drug issues, and I think I heard Speaker Hanshaw say, many of these problems are solved with a good job and with hope and opportunity for a future. And so when we approach it with almost moral imperative that we've got to win these jobs for our citizens. It's that important. And I always sense when I come to these conferences with you that you feel the same way about that. You're motivated and inspired by the work that we're doing together and collectively to bring jobs and opportunity and hope and a bright future for the citizens of West Virginia. And so we approach it with that angle. We share it with our team, Mike and I, every day practically with the sales team to let them know what it means. And I want to hope that you share with me that motivation to really win these transactions, find a way to say yes, and to get to bringing those jobs and opportunities to West Virginia. So let me just share with you briefly the value proposition that we sell to the world, and so that you can help us do that and so forth. And first on that list, and we always say you need 5 great points in a sales presentation to close the deal. So our first point on the list, and you can't, we didn't do this, but we've got the best geographic location in America, really. I often hear Gordon Gee say, we're in the Eastern time zone. It's a great advantage. And I've heard Brad Smith say, these hills and valleys and mountains that used to be impediments and roadblocks to coming to West Virginia are now welcome signs to come home to our state and to create your jobs and your businesses. And we are within 500 miles of 50% of America's population and 30% of the Canadian population. So, point number 1, Mr. Business Owner, if you're looking for supply chain issues, you want to be closer to your customers, you want to be closer to your people that are supplying you the material to make your product to then go to the marketplace, locate where your customers are and where your suppliers are. So point number 1, great geographic location. And supply chain issues are such a great decision point now in the business world. Secondly, we're a low-cost state to do business. We just are. And our workers' comp rates are the 4th lowest in the nation. And so think about what we've done over the past several years in terms of workers' comp. We're 18% lower than the national average, 4th lowest in the nation. We have abundant natural resources, and when we start talking about rare earth elements, those type things, a low-cost environment is incredibly important to these businesses as we move forward. So that's point number 2. First, central location. Second, low-cost state for conducting business. And third is our workforce. And I know we talk about that, and we have to nuance the way we sell it maybe a little bit, but we've got a great workforce. And one of the couple of points, and these are not West Virginia points, these are brought forth by nationally recognized entities that talk about our workers in West Virginia have a higher degree of loyalty to their job than any other place in America. We have the lowest turnover rate for manufacturing jobs in America. And so when businesses and manufacturing entities want to locate in a state and they talk about turnover rate, how much it costs to retrain employees and so forth, that is an incredibly important point. Furthermore, to go along and support that point is the fact that our citizens in West Virginia are work shed. People talk about a work shed, how far away, and they draw a circle around the place where they want to put their manufacturing facility. In West Virginia, it's been documented, our people will drive further, travel further to go to that good job than any other place in America. So we've got those 2 great points in terms of our workforce, and then when you compound that with the fact that we'll train any worker for any manufacturing facility at no cost to that employee. And furthermore, we have a program in place, the Governor's Guaranteed Workforce Program, that will provide 50% of the employees' wages while they're being trained and working in that facility. And businesses step back and say, oh my gosh, I didn't know this. I didn't know this about West Virginia. And so they start getting enthusiastic about this really is a state where I can put my business and I can grow, and it's incredibly well located. it's a low cost of doing business, and the government will help train my employees, and they'll be loyal once they get that job. So bam, bam, bam. There's three. And then we talk about, this is one that is really very important to big businesses, is we have a stable, safe, secure financial structure in West Virginia. And when you start comparing that to states like, and what I mean by that is we have incredibly secure pension systems in West Virginia, public pension systems. And for those of us who've been at this process for a little while, you can sit back and say, are you kidding me? We used to have the worst funded pension systems in America. And because of the people in this room and the policy positions that have been advocated for over the past many years, West Virginia has among the best funded pension systems in America. And so these businesses realize, I'm not going to get dinged for the sins of the past by somebody raising my taxes to pay for those pension systems that previous governments couldn't bring forth in a responsible manner. That's a big deal to these businesses, and they, again, step back and say, oh my gosh, West Virginia has it together. So in addition to that, we have well-funded OPEB system. We have a workers' comp debt, no workers' comp debt, or no unemployment compensation debt, no unemployment compensation debt, when many other states have debt that they have to pay from previous unemployment crisis. So West Virginia is well positioned financially. We have an incredible surplus. Many other states have surplus right now, but we have a surplus that is second to none in terms of percentages, and a rainy day fund that's almost 20% of our entire general revenue budget. In fact, it's over 20%. So stable financial environment. Again, I'll just hit central location, low cost for doing business, great workforce, stable, safe, secure financial environment. And then finally, I'll just end by saying all of those things together were ranked nationally, compared on a national basis by Business Location Magazine, Inc., other magazines, and nobody's been able to say this. West Virginia is now a top 10 business in America for locating. So thank you. Those policy positions, the sales efforts, the culture of winning, all combined to make West Virginia the best place in America to live, work, raise a family. And, sometimes it just kind of, you step back and say, look at where we are at now. And it kind of, the thought sweeps over you that this is the most exciting, thrilling time to be a West Virginian. We have so much before us. And I just think of the difference it's going to make in the lives of the people who will have these jobs, and it's because of the people in this room. And so I thank you with all my heart, and I look forward to working with you to bring more exciting opportunity to West Virginia. Thank you very much. Mike Graney, your Executive Director.
Hey, good morning. So it's always tough to follow Mitch, right? And it's always tough to be Friday morning at the Business Summit because you've already heard a lot of what I'm going to tell you. But it's worth celebrating again. So I've been on the job now for 3 years, 11 months, 1 hour, and about 30 minutes, but who's counting? It's really, truly been an honor and privilege, and I'm humbled by having the opportunity to do this job. It's been fascinating and maybe a little frustrating as well. And for the record, Mitch, we branded up the Yes West Virginia before you were named the secretary. So economic development is complicated, but the West Virginia Economic Development Department really has a fantastic, talented, passionate, and talented team. And, we're kind of like the state of West Virginia. We're small, but we're mighty, really mighty. I have a few slides to share, and so I'll do that. And then much of which you've already heard, but it's really worth revisiting because we've got great news in West Virginia. So the development office is known for actually expanding and attracting businesses, but we do a lot of other things. We have an international division. We have community advancement and development. We have the small business development centers, the Office of Broadband, the Office of Energy, and now we have the West Virginia Film Office, which is really interesting. And so we launched our website and the application process yesterday. And we already have 5 applications that will represent about $6 million of direct spend in West Virginia this year. So pretty cool, and there's a whole lot more that's going to happen with that. So very exciting. I've learned that we have truly a diversified economy, and we just need more of it. So, we're focused on intentionally diversifying our economy and innovating that economy. So, really, truly, we've got some great statistics. They've already been mentioned. You can read them. I don't have to go over them. And, but I'll tell you, a couple of these facts really do, as Mitch said, make a difference when we're out there trying to sell our state. So again, a number of slides here just to sort of put up what Mitch just told you about. So let me tell you about a couple new things that we've done. So we actually, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, Senator Manchin actually mentioned this relationship with JobCase that he had sort of unpacked. But we wanted to take that a lot further because we really felt like we needed a job platform to talk about all the jobs that are available in West Virginia, really for 3 purposes. 1, to keep our graduates here. 2, to recruit folks, expats, back into the state. And 3, really to recruit remote workers. And so at this point today, we've been doing this for about 18 months. We have over 900 employers who've listed over 20,000 jobs, and it's everything from working at a one-stop to, PhD research professor at Marshall or WVU. And we're getting 40 to 50,000 clicks a month on that platform. And so this platform is available to everyone. We actually think that to every business, it's free. We're the only state in the country doing this, and it's actually making a difference. So pretty cool, pretty innovative, and more to follow on this. We actually want all the universities to take advantage of this, and we want all the businesses to take advantage of this. So check it out, jobcase.com/WV. So something new. Yesterday, we launched the West Virginia Capital Access Program, and that is the SSBCI, the State Small Business Capital Initiative. And this money came from ARPA and came through the Treasury. And so this happened in 2010. It was sort of SSBCI 1. Now we have the same thing, 2.0. And it will provide seed capital or subordinated debt fund capital or collateral support fund capital, and then technical assistance for small businesses. It's a really cool thing. We already received $27 million. We'll receive another $27 million, and there's competition for another $20 million. So we've got to roll this out. We've got to roll it out quickly. And so this is fantastic news for small business in West Virginia because we've had a challenge with access to small capital. So that deserves a round of applause. So a little bit of information about the film office. You can read this, and this is actually up and on our website, westvirginiaallspelledout.gov. Very cool, and it's moving. So, here's really the amazing thing that's happened in the past couple of years. Across the state, we're collaborating, cooperating, and communicating. We're not competing, complaining, or criticizing. That's a really cool thing. That's why we're getting things done. Across the state, all entities, all the people in the room are collaborating, cooperating, communicating, and it's a great thing. Obviously, we still have challenges, we still have impediments, but we're addressing those things. We've got big issues like infrastructure and lack of build-ready sites, but we're addressing those things. We have great news, and we should be proud of it. We've been known as the energy state. Now we're an all-of-the-above energy state, and that's fantastic news. We're getting more looks than we ever did. The RFIs are incredible. We're really over capacity, but that's fantastic news because we've created this great environment. And, you know, as Mitch said, the legislature and the governors in the past have created a fantastic business environment, top 10 in the country. So, you know, Morgan and I moved back here 30 years ago, and I used to joke with my brother, Pat, that West Virginia is a prison break. The economy of West Virginia is a prison break ready to happen. Well, it's happening right now. And as the governor said, it's go time. And that's fantastic news for all of us. So, great businesses that have said yes to West Virginia. International investment in West Virginia, really phenomenal. Diversified economy, the aerospace industry, the agricultural industry, and more to come with that. The automotive industry, all these sectors very important to our diversified economy. Building products industry, the chemical and polymer industry, which is really starting to, you know, reshore, really starting to pick up here in our state. The defense industry. You know, this is something that we hadn't really paid attention to in the development office. And I always felt like we weren't getting our fair share of the defense spend. So we really started paying attention to it, and we're really building on this. And so it's really exciting, and there's a lot more activity in this area. And let's think about it. You know, we're probably not going to reduce the defense spend from a federal standpoint. So this is, you know, trajectory. It's generational. It will continue to happen. Forest products industry, obviously very historic for us and critical. Distribution, fulfillment, and, you know, the Eastern Panhandle is on fire in this area. There's over 5 million square feet under construction right now for new distribution facilities. Information technology. You know, who would think that West Virginia would be attractive in this space? It's happening right now. And great leadership, and it's been said, but look at that bottom in blue there, that word. How about it, Brad? Thank you very much for that investment. We appreciate it. The metals industry, historic for us, and more to come. So here's something that we like to sell. Climate stability, right? Okay, so the Gulf Coast is going to shut down 3 times a year, and it's going to disrupt the supply chain across the North America, and really the world. And so locate here, because, you know, we have floods, yes, but we're not really typically going to have anything more than a derecho occasionally, right? So, whoops. But so we sell that, and people are recognizing that and actually, you know, looking to locate here. We obviously have livability, and we talk about that. We've got live, work, play, and raise a family. And so what does the development office do? Well, we're really truly a concierge service. We match needs with resources. And it really has been a privilege and an honor to serve with this great team that we're with. And so I encourage you to take a look at JobCase. I encourage you to take a look at the Daily 304, which is a great, cool podcast that Andy Malinowski with Commerce Communications puts together every day. It celebrates good news about West Virginia. I encourage you to look at West Virginia Business Link, which we created over the past year. And it actually, you know, when I got to the office, almost 4 years ago, I realized that we have all these resources across the state, but nobody knew about them. So now we have this searchable database. It's really powerful. I think there are about 8 states in the country that have this. Unfortunately, we weren't first with that, but we have it. And so that's great news. And it really is a phenomenal resource, because if you're a small business and you really need some help, you name it, you can search up what you need, and this will deliver the 5 or 6 resources that are available across the state. So I also encourage you to check out, you know, westvirginia.gov, because all these slides are there, and a whole lot of other resources are there. Today you may have heard about the Build Back Better competition award that was awarded to Coalfield Developments. That's fantastic, over $60 million. And, you know, I'll tell a quick little story about this. So this is the U.S. EDA money, $3 billion that was carved out of the Interagency Working Group, 12 government agencies that had $39 billion available for coal field affected and power plant affected communities. And so I said, well, man, we got to get on all that. So there were 529 original submissions to Phase 1, down selected to 60. West Virginia had 2. 2 days ago, they announced that they had 21 that were awarded, and we got 1. But the one that the Development Office led was not funded, but it's a great plan, and so we've got to figure out how to fund that plan because it's transformational for coalfield-affected communities in West Virginia. So help me with that. That's one ask. Second ask is continue to collaborate, cooperate, and communicate because, as President Smith said, this is not momentum. This is a movement. I love that. I told you I was going to use it. Fund the Site Ready bill that passed earlier this year but didn't get funded. So we need that funding to actually create sites because it's a problem for us. And fund additional resources for the West Virginia Development Office or Department of Economic Development, easy for you to say, to build capacity because we're at the moment that we really need to follow what the governor said. Go. It is go time. It's really, truly an honor and privilege to be in this room, to share these thoughts with you, and it's exciting. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Mitch. How about another round of applause for Mike and Mitch? They're just absolutely fantastic. I'm Brian Dayton, one of the vice presidents at the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce. And before we actually kick off this next panel, I'm going to invite up Ashley Rich Stevenson from the United States Chamber of Commerce to the stage for a quick announcement. And Steve Roberts is also going to come up and join. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, and good morning, everybody. I know it's not lost on anybody that it's election season, and with Labor Day here, it's officially a sprint to November. With that, I'm out traveling the country announcing support for candidates that the U.S. Chamber is endorsing for their election this year, and we're proud today to share that the U.S. Chamber will be endorsing Representative Carol Miller as she's running for re-election in West Virginia's 1st Congressional District. Representative Miller has just been tireless as an advocate for free enterprise, pro-jobs, and pro-growth. And she can't be with us today, so she's prepared a video. But the U.S. Chamber, along with our partners at the West Virginia Chamber, are so proud and thankful for our great working relationship with Representative Miller and look forward to all that she will continue to do to stand up for business in Washington on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm in Cambodia right now, working with a congressional group on commerce so that we can open up more avenues to sell our goods to our Asia-Pacific allies. We go from here to Singapore. It's an incredible country, and I'm looking forward to being in Singapore next. I want to thank you so much for your endorsement for my candidacy from the 1st Congressional District. God bless you all, and I hope you're having a good time.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for being here with us today. So I'm going to go ahead and ask our next group of panelists to make their way up towards the stage, and I'll go ahead and begin introducing them. But we're going to be discussing a very important ballot initiative, and that is Amendment 2 that will be on the ballot here in November. It's critically important, so we have an all-star panel up here to discuss the very things that are going to make West Virginia move forward if we can get that amendment passed. So one of our first guests is Rebecca McPhail. Rebecca serves as the president of the West Virginia Manufacturers Association and has held that role since 2013. Prior to that, she served as president of the State Economic Development Association Vision Shared, was assistant vice president of development at Marshall University, and as grant development and research manager for the YMCA of Greater Cleveland, Ohio. Roger Hanshaw, I think he's in the room here, serves as Speaker of the West Virginia House of Delegates, I hope he is, and is a practicing attorney for Bowles Rice in Charleston. He concentrates on environmental and technical issues that arise in business transactions as well as regulatory compliance and litigation. He earned a PhD in chemistry from Notre Dame and a law degree from WVU. And he is also one of about 250 certified professional parliamentarians in the United States. So to anyone serving in the House of Delegates, good luck if you're going to sneak a motion past him. Craig Blair was elected to his third term in the West Virginia State Senate in 2020 and was chosen by his colleagues to serve as president of the Senate in 2021. He is a certified Class 5 water specialist, licensed master electrician, and a licensed master plumber. In 1989, he started his own business, Sunset Water Services, which has grown to become the largest water treatment company in the Eastern Panhandle tri-state area. In addition to the role of President of the Senate, he has served as Majority Whip, Chair of the Government Organization Committee, and Chair of the Finance Committee. Mike Carl is an attorney with the firm of Bowles Rice and primarily practices in the areas of tax planning and tax controversy at the federal, state, and local levels. He served as State Tax Commissioner from 1985 to 1988 under Governor Arch Moore and is past president of the 12-State Southeastern Association of Tax Administrators. Mike has long been recognized by peer review organizations, Best Lawyers, Chambers USA, Martindale-Hubbell, and Super Lawyers for his work in tax law. And last but certainly not least, Steve Roberts is the president of the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business in West Virginia. Steve first came to the Chamber in 1992 after working for the BASF Corporation and for the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce. Under Steve's leadership, the Chamber has been nationally recognized for member retention and recruitment. He holds several appointments on behalf of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and is currently the co-chair of the U.S. Chamber's Political Affairs Committee. Steve was a leader in West Virginia's elimination of the gross receipts tax, known as West Virginia's business and occupation tax, and he also led the successful effort to amend West Virginia's Constitution in an effort known as the Freeport Amendment. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us here today. We're going to make this as a very collegial conversation. I'm going to start a question to one of you individually, but I welcome all of you just to dive in and tackle this. I'm actually going to start off with Steve. Steve, you've been with the Chamber for a long time. You've been through numerous legislative battles, workers' compensation reform, Med-Mal, the Freeport Amendment, establishing the Rainy Day Fund, passing right to work. How important is Amendment 2 compared to all those other issues, and why do you hold those beliefs?
Brian, thank you very much for teeing off with me, and I want to take just a moment to thank all of you in the audience for being part of the largest attendance at the West Virginia Business Summit. I think this is a testimony to the spirit that exists on behalf of creating a better, brighter future in West Virginia. And Amendment 2, thank you. Amendment 2 will help us continue the progress. This is in my opinion, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to change a 90-year-old provision of our Constitution. We need to do this. A couple of days ago, Marty Becker and I were talking, and he said his observation was that West Virginia has no problems that more jobs won't solve. Is there anybody in this room who does not agree that we need more jobs in West Virginia? Amendment 2 will help us get there, and we need to pass it. We need to be passionate about it. We need to not take a back seat on this issue. A number of years ago, I was privileged to read, I love Malcolm Gladwell, and I've talked to a number of you in this room about several of Malcolm Gladwell's books. And in 2008, Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called Outliers, and he identified the attributes that lead to success. West Virginia, in several respects, is an outlier state. And while we have many positive attributes, we have over time developed some policies that make us an outlier. Our Constitution needs to be amended so that we are no longer an outlier in the wrong kind of way on a 90-year-old tax system that simply doesn't work anymore. You just heard from Mitch Carmichael, you just heard from Michael Graney, and you can tell that they can go sell West Virginia, and they are selling West Virginia, but they've got to have more than pickleball courts to sell. And with that, I will conclude.
Thank you. Rebecca, you head up the West Virginia Manufacturers Association, which represents manufacturers all across West Virginia. 40 years ago, we had nearly 3 times the manufacturing jobs that we have today. Now, that loss has been pretty much stopped over the past decade, but it's still hovering in the high 40,000 range. What do you view on Amendment 2 and how that could help bring back some of these jobs? Because contrary to popular belief, they haven't gone necessarily overseas, but they've gone to our neighboring states, Indiana, and so forth. How do you see that interplaying?
Brian, I think what we're really looking at now is an industry that, as you said, has retracted over the last several decades. Certainly our tax structure in West Virginia is a reason for that. We are in a situation with manufacturing that we're not just competing in a global economy, we're competing in our own companies for where we invest critical capital dollars. And West Virginia is out of step with the rest of the country when it comes to that. So if you're a company that has sites in Indiana or Ohio or Michigan, where those tax structures are more friendly to manufacturing investment and less punitive to the capital requirements of running a strong manufacturing economy and continuing to keep up with innovation and the changing dynamics of the evolution of the industry, then that's a big tool to have in the toolkit for economic developers. It's something that people want to check that box when they're looking at citing new projects. So it is an impediment, and we know that Amendment 2 is the only way to open the door for serious policy discussion about how we generate the best return on our tax investment.
Well, thank you. Speaker Hanshaw, I want to go ahead and jump to you. We've talked a little bit about this. One of the chief concerns that we're hearing from people who are opposing Amendment 2 is they'll make claims that it's going to defund the schools, that it's going to defund police, fire, and EMS, that it's going to bankrupt our counties. If the voters pass Amendment 2, all of these things are going to happen. Can you talk about the direct fiscal impacts of voters voting yes on Amendment 2?
I sure can. So process matters and procedure matters, and it's critically important that we be honest with ourselves and with the voters about process and procedure. And if you actually have read Amendment 2 and not just read about it, but actually read it, what you find is it costs not one red dime. It costs not a penny to anyone at any level of government. It costs not a dime, because passage of the amendment does nothing but give the legislature the power to start considering options on some tax reform. That is the entirety of the amendment. It costs not a dime. And there's great fear that comes with uncertainty, right? I've read before that old story from Roman times about the emperor who put the convicted citizen before 3 gates and said, before gate 1 is an executioner, before gate 2 is a herd of hungry wild animals, and behind gate 3 is the unknown. Choose your fate. And almost to a person, the convicted citizen would choose certain death, would choose the executioner rather than the unknown. But behind the unknown was always freedom. Behind the unknown was freedom. If the citizen was brave enough to choose the unknown, then the emperor granted freedom. But we have an awful lot of people in West Virginia who are choosing gate number 1, who are telling our citizens and our voters that we ought to choose gate number 1, that we ought to choose certain death over the unknown and the uncertain. The uncertain here is only that the legislature will have the authority and the opportunity to start talking about some tax reform. And I like to talk about this with the voters. I like to talk about it with people in my community, because I live at 5035 Wallback Road in Wallback, West Virginia, just off exit 34 along I-79. I have 2 children in the public school system, and I defy anyone to say that I want to defund the public schools. My wife teaches in the public school system, and my little girls are in kindergarten and the 1st grade. I want that school system to be funded very well for as long as it exists. My home is served by 2 volunteer fire departments. The Newton and Big Otter volunteer fire departments serve my address. I want them to come to my home if my house is on fire. So to think that I'm going to take action that defunds local services and local functions of government is frankly ridiculous. And that point gets lost when opponents of Amendment 2 are talking about what the legislature is likely to do in the event that we pass this amendment. Because we all live here too. we all live in these communities. We are a citizen legislature. We don't all live in Charleston. In fact, very few of us live in Charleston. We live in the communities of West Virginia. And as a consequence, we depend upon local government, local boards of education, local county commissions, municipal governments to deliver services to our homes and businesses too. So to think that we're going to take action in the course of passage of this amendment that in any way places our homes and our families and our businesses at risk is frankly ridiculous. But that point's nevertheless being made. That argument's being made, and it needs to be combated because the passage of Amendment 2 costs not $1.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've passed around this booklet here, and I know the Senate has been hard at work for not just this year, but for several years preparing for this moment, assuming the voters have passed Amendment 2. Can you talk a little bit about this, what you guys are looking at doing, and how to go ahead and, if Amendment 2 is passed by the voters, how to move forward and make some real tax reform?
Thank you. Before I do that, I want to do what that's going to turn into a yearly tradition here, is that I'd like to hand Steve Roberts what we've done since 2015 to 2022 in the legislature for business in West Virginia. And that's the bill by bill. Some pages have 2 and 3 bills on them. So in West Virginia, I'm very, very proud of that, and I'd like that being a tradition.
Thank you. And next year, we hope it's a little bit thicker than it is this year.
Yeah, it keeps growing. I can't wait till we have 2 volumes that I'm passing over. So the speaker was absolutely right that it doesn't cost $1, but you have to be able to come prepared. The voters need to know and they have expectations in November. On your table is this book, and I commend my finance chairman, Eric Tarr, as well as my fellow senators, that there's over 18 of us that believe that the personal property tax needs to come before a 10% reduction in the personal income tax. And we're going to hold that line, and then when it's passed, and we believe it will pass in November, then we got to have a plan. Because when it passes, it comes with expectation. The plan is right here. Ladies and gentlemen, I only get 5 or 10 minutes to speak up here, so I can't talk about all of this. There's 2 hours worth of reading, but it gives you an understanding on what can take place, at least at this point in time, in the state of West Virginia when it comes to the personal property tax. One of the biggest things is how to pay for it. We're in our 4th year of basically a flatline budget. A flatline budget began whenever I was the finance chairman, and it's $136 million a year of controlled growth. Now you multiply that. If you can have a flatline budget the 2nd year, it's $272 million that you've controlled the growth of spending in government. And that money is sitting there. And we've been using it for one-time expenditures, but it's there year after year as long as you can control the growth in government. We're on our 4th year. Ladies and gentlemen, that ought to be in Ripley's Believe It or Not. Of our 29% of our excess revenues compared to our general revenue budget. Most other states are running 10 or 11%. Even with all the monies that are out there and the growth it's doing, our state has controlled their spending so that we are prepared to do that. Inside the book, it actually tells you with the counties, and we've set it up for the Senate plan right now to make it so every county gets at least $1 million more than what they're currently getting. 40 of the 55 counties have been declining revenue counties. It's insane, as far as I'm concerned, when you hear a local official standing up and saying vote against this because the legislature is going to hurt us. That's nonsense. The counties and municipalities are subsidiaries of the state. If they go bankrupt in any way, it's incumbent upon us to fix it. That is not going to happen. We're not going to bankrupt anybody. The whole point of this is to make it so that they succeed, that they're not stifled by the sins of the past. Now, there's something else that hadn't been addressed here, and was a small business owner until I got too involved in politics. And that is that 70% of the jobs that are created in this state are created by West Virginia businesses that are already here. Okay? They're the ones that's been carrying the load year after year after year after year on the personal property tax via the equipment and machinery. And I'm going to use one example, if I may, and that is the fossil fuel industry. We all know that we took a downturn in 2016, 17, prices went down, demand went down on it. Okay, these industries, mines closed up. And when those mines closed up, the jobs went away. But they also either moved the equipment, machinery out of state or sold it to avoid paying a tax on a closed mine. Now, the price is back up, the demand's back up. We're missing out on the severance tax because those mines are closed and not back in operation because their equipment and machinery are not there. They got rid of it. It's gone. And supply chain issues is not making it so that they can open those mines back up quickly. So we're losing the severance tax. We're losing the employment tax to be able to have those miners back in there. And we're losing the corporate net because you can be profitable now in the state of West Virginia. So this is about not just bringing new businesses into the state of West Virginia. This is about making it so that businesses in West Virginia can succeed. I got to add one more thing, then I'll chime it down, because I am passionate about this, and that is that the vehicles are the key to getting this passed. Okay, jobs and all, that's important. But having the vehicles out there, that's a pocketbook issue. And it's a 13th car payment that you're making to the county every year. You make that go away, people feel that. That's real money in their pockets. But I got another kicker that we're working on, and it's going to happen soon. And that is you're going to be able to walk out to the back of your vehicle and hold your smartphone up to the license plate. And you're going to go click, click, and you've renewed your tags, and the sticker comes in the mail. No more trips to the DMV. That's how you pass this. It makes a difference, and it moves our state into the 21st century where we're moving quickly anyhow. And you want to keep young people, you do things like that to get them there. So thank you.
Thank you. Mike, you've been involved in tax policy for a number of years, serving as tax commissioner, and I think you've been looking at other states, and how they tax tangible personal property. Can you talk about, do any other states have these constitutional guarantees, and what other states levy these types of taxes?
The guarantee, what are you talking about, the guarantee of?
In a constitutional guarantee that for the counties, I should say.
That's going to be taxed.
Yes.
Well, there's a mixture around the country, but Pennsylvania and Ohio don't have this tax, and the other three border states have it, but it's doesn't have the adverse impact that ours does, for sure. In my experience in different roles, certainly we're glad to hear about some additional investment and growth in West Virginia in recent years, but I'll tell you very little of it in the industrial area would have happened without these pilot deals, and I've been involved in a lot of those. But that's picking winners and losers. We need a system that works and that encourages investment in West Virginia. So I strongly support this amendment. The ways to replace the revenue that this potentially will disrupt or eliminate as sources of revenue. There's a lot of options, and I think the report that Senator Blair showed you sends a great signal to local government officials about the commitment of the legislative leadership to finding a way to replace those revenues, and it's a very sophisticated way of measuring how much those were, how much they could be, and so forth, and how to do it. There is another course, though, that could be part of, not either or situation, but the legislature has the power to reallocate the tax base of real estate, and easily the municipalities and counties' loss of the personal property tax if the amendment is enacted or adopted and then implemented is simply the shift to more of the real estate base to the municipalities and counties, and that, in addition to just wash or replacing revenues, can shift to local control, which is something that a lot of the people that I work with support as well. More local control of assessing by counties and the municipalities. But there's, and obviously the Constitution mandates the legislature to fund the public schools. Right now, it's about 75% comes out of the general fund. That'll need to move if you get rid of their real estate tax base. That'll need to move, to closer to 100%. But that doesn't mean that you're just going to raise the general fund taxes. It'll be an occasion. This whole thing, the implementing legislation, will be an occasion to reform our state tax structure beyond just exempting tangible personal property. And I've talked about how you can do that. You can actually, I've got a proposal called the Fair 55 Plan, which would actually enable the ultimate elimination of both the personal and the corporate income tax, and replace it with a broad-based but lower rate consumption tax. I call it the Fair 55 Plan because the rate would be 5.5% on this consumption tax and not the current 6% sales tax. But there's no reason why anyone in this room should not pay some kind of a consumption tax on your purchase of groceries. So the three things that you have to do to have a good, effective, and fair broad-based consumption tax is, one, you have to avoid regressivity, but that is defined narrowly and properly as the don't add cost to the purchases of the necessities of life by low-income people. The blanket exemption for sales for grocery purchases violates that approach. Secondly, you got to deal with border competition. My plan has a way to do that. And then you need to avoid pyramiding of taxes on business purchases, and the value-added tax approach concept that's very successful in New Hampshire is a possibility there. So but the passage of this amendment is the key to setting up the circumstances whereby the complete, full, and important reform of West Virginia's tax system can take place, and the growth that'll come with that is, can't be imagined how great it will be. You need to have econometric modeling that does projects. You need to have fiscal milestones to implement it, but this all can be done, and it can get rid of completely the income tax, both on individuals and corporations, and one thing about a consumption tax, if you've dealt with the three challenges, is that the administration is handled by the vendor and the tax agency, and the individuals just pay their tax and take their ticket and their purchase product, and that's the end of their involvement with tax administration. So there's a lot of reasons to consider this plan, but again, the adoption of the amendment is the first step.
Well, thank you. We're starting to run close on our time, but I do want to ask one more question. I want to kick this to President Blair and Speaker Hanshaw. President Blair, you talked about how we've run a flat budget now for 4 years, which in essence has built in a surplus, an automatic surplus that's going to be coming in that is enabling the legislature to look at replacing the revenues for these counties. What we hear, some of the complaints from the counties, especially regarding the Senate plan, is they say, well, that's great. We see that works, but you can't bind a future legislature and to prevent them from cutting us. But I want to ask your opinions on this. You've been chair of the Finance Committee. We have a couple other people in this room who've served as a Finance Committee in either the House or the Senate. Can you talk about the commitment that West Virginia made? Because we've talked about our pension systems. It's been brought up. Can you talk about that commitment and how the legislature has stuck to it?
There is no question about the legislature will stick to the commitments, and you're right, you can't control what the future legislatures do, but here's a prime example. In 1991, our state pensions were funded at 6%. Most of them are funded at 100%. Not all of them, but Mike Olivero is sitting in the audience. He was around, he was involved in doing that. That commitment has stayed through the process, and we'll be finished up. It's supposed to be in 2034. It soaks up about $400 million of our budget right now, but we're committed to staying there and good investments that may be actually accelerated so that we finish up before 2034. School aid funding formula is another one that the legislature is committed to making sure that the counties are funded. But that's a legislative process. That is not something that is mandated by the counties or the Constitution or anything like that. So to say that the legislature, where some of them are saying that we will defund them, that we'll bankrupt them, that's false. It's categorically false. It's just the opposite of that. We want them to succeed. We've got counties that are dying on the vine. Let's talk about McDowell County. That was over 100,000 people that lived in McDowell County 50, 60 years ago, and there's less than 20,000 people living there now. We can't have that. That can't happen. So you got to be able to make it so that business can succeed. And you can't have pilot projects all over the state doing that so that they avoid paying this tax. Then the locals actually have to do it. So I'm digressing away from your question, but I think I answered it already. There is a commitment to making it so that our counties, our municipalities, our school boards, everybody is going to succeed, and you share the wealth together. A good friend of mine, Delegate Walter Duke at the time, used this statement: a rising tide lifts all boats. You can see that right now in the state of West Virginia, what has taken place since they gave us the majority in the state of West Virginia, and we've went at it, and making hard decisions when we were $500 million underwater at one point in time, and we didn't do this tax increase. We said no. We're not going to do the largest tax increase ever, and look where we're at today. 1.3 billion in excess revenues. Next year could actually be better than that. But we got, in this book, by the way, there are no assumptions for growth at all. So when you're looking at this and studying it, and by the way, that 2-hour study, there'll be a pop quiz. The pop quiz is on November the 8th. Vote yes on all the constitutional amendments because they're all good for West Virginia. Vote yes on that, and then you all get passing grades. And tell your friends and family, share it with them. There'll be digital versions out too. We're wanting everybody to understand. And this may not be the end product. The legislative process works, but it's giving you an idea on what the mindset of the West Virginia legislature is, and that is that we're wanting to solve the problems in the counties. $1 million more than what they're currently getting, or their regional jail bill goes away, whichever is greater. Counties have been complaining about the regional jail bill. Build into it. I'll stop. The speaker's a better speaker than I am.
Brian, commitments come in a couple forms. So you asked specifically about the legislature's commitment. You know, there are moral commitments. There are commitments that each of us make who serve as members of that body to actually be good stewards of the state of West Virginia and be good stewards of the communities in which we live and the resources that we're entrusted to manage on behalf of 1.8 million West Virginians. I said earlier that one of the beautiful things about our structure of government in West Virginia is that we are constituted in a mechanism that brings to the Capitol for the decision-making process people from every corner of the state. So not all 134 legislators live in Charleston. They live in Chester, they live in Princeton, they live in Shepherdstown, they live in Point Pleasant, and they live in Charleston. We we come from all over the state. We come from the capital city of 55,000, and we come from Walbach, which has about a dozen people. We depend upon responsible decision making there to make sure that everyone, no matter your situation, can enjoy life in West Virginia. That's our moral commitment as a legislature, to not be irresponsible with the resources that we're entrusted to manage. That's the moral commitment that we have, and the moral obligation that we have, not to be reckless with the people's resources. So I'll end the way I began on that part of the question. We live here too. We live in every community of West Virginia, and we aren't going to make decisions, and we aren't going to take action that puts it in jeopardy or puts at risk our own ability to enjoy lives in the communities that we have all chosen. So that's our moral commitment, to be good stewards of the people's resources. But Brian, we have legal commitments too. We have legal commitments that we, the people of West Virginia, have made. Given the tax structure that we have on the books in West Virginia today, we, the people of West Virginia, have gone to the capital markets and sold billions of dollars in bonds. We have structured our financial house such that we have ongoing, continuing obligations, not that the legislature has put in place, but that the voters of the state of West Virginia have put in place by authorizing the bond sales and trips to the capital markets that we've made in the past. Those are legal commitments. Those are binding legal commitments on behalf of the sovereign state of West Virginia that we, the people of our state, have made to the rest of the world. And it's our legal responsibility as a legislature not to jeopardize our own credit rating and our own standing in the capital markets. We depend upon our long-term ability to finance operations, to finance capital projects that will be jeopardized by irresponsible decision-making on the part of the legislature. So our commitments, Brian, are both moral and legal, and we take those commitments seriously. If you are one of the people who looks at the bill introduction list every day during the 60 days of the legislature, you see that there are plenty of irresponsible opportunities put before the legislature every year. The committee chairs and the leadership of the legislature have ample opportunities to be fully irresponsible if we so chose. We've not done that, and we're happy about that. I'm pleased to say that we have not made those kind of irresponsible, reckless decisions, and I see no reason to think that we're in jeopardy of making them in the future. We are committed to doing this responsibly. Everything that Secretary Carmichael and Director Graney said from the podium today is absolutely true. We want to continue that because that's how we transform our economy into a 21st century economy. That's how we achieve every objective and every goal that all of us here for the last 2.5 days have said we want to achieve. We achieve them by steady, measured, responsible decision making, and we are fully committed to that, both morally and legally.
I'm going to great close, Mr. Speaker. I asked Brian if I could add just one more thing. When I became Senate President, I said I wanted 400,000 people to move to the state of West Virginia in the next 10 years. People laughed at me. Last year, more people moved into the state than moved out of the state. First time in a long, long, long time. But we still lost population. Why? Because more people passed away than what was being born. When you get rid of the personal property tax, what happens is it makes it so that businesses can be more profitable in the state of West Virginia. They will grow. And here's how, when you have more jobs, gainful employment, this makes the 400,000 people are right here, right now. It's our students that were graduating from our universities, from our community technical colleges, and from our high schools. You give them gainful employment opportunities, and what happens? They stay right here in West Virginia. They fall in love with people that they went to school with, or their mate and everything. Then the next thing they do, they make babies, okay? This is what you need to have a growing economy. This is what makes states great. Everybody always laughs when I talk about the making babies things, but that's a problem in the state of West Virginia. But it also demonstrates the hope in the future that you have as well. And the personal property tax is one of the key components to being able to make it so that what I just talked about, and we'll have 2.2 million people here in the next 9 years instead of 1.8 that it's been like that since 1940. Thank you, Brian.
Well, thank you. This was a tremendous discussion. I want to thank everybody here who's joined us today. And just, again, I think it's a fantastic discussion about how important this is. Thank you. Just to go ahead and keep us rolling, I'm going to welcome the moderator of our next panel to the stage, and that is Dr. Sarah Armstrong Tucker. Dr. Tucker is the Chancellor of the West Virginia Higher Education Policy Commission and the Chancellor of the Community and Technical College System. She is the first person to hold both of these positions simultaneously. She sits on numerous boards and committees and maintains a very active presence in the community. She completed her doctorate at the School of Education at the University of Michigan in 2010, earned a BA in psychology from Harvard University, and a master's in quantitative research methodology from the University of Michigan. Dr. Tucker, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the stage.
She was also at the back of the room when she heard her name called, so I ran to the front of the room, so pardon me if I'm just a little bit out of breath right now. We have a great discussion this morning on how higher education is driving change in West Virginia. Joining us are 4 very distinguished leaders. I will call them all up to the stage one by one. Dr. Eric Cage is the president of West Virginia State University, having been unanimously appointed to the position in September 2021 by the Board of Governors. A native of Halifax County, Virginia, he joined the university in July of 2021 as Vice President and Chief of Staff. He is a graduate of Virginia Tech and the Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets, where he earned a bachelor's degree in political science with a minor in leadership studies. He holds a Juris Doctorate from Rutgers University Law School. Welcome, Dr. Cage. Dr. Jim Nemitz is the 7th president of the West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine, located in nearby Lewisburg. Dr. Nemitz has been with the school for over 30 years and has served as the VP of Administration and External Relations, Associate Dean for Preclinical Education, and Progressor of Anatomy. He received his bachelor's degree in biology from Randolph-Macon College, PhD in anatomy from the Medical College of Virginia, and was a postdoctoral fellow in neuroscience at the Yale University School of Medicine. Dr. Marty Roth became president of the University of Charleston in July of 2018 and was previously the dean of the Barney School of Business at the University of Hartford. He has held several faculty and leadership positions at the University of South Carolina and Boston College. He has spent the past 30 years helping universities excel by focusing on the talent acquisition and developmental needs of students and organizations. He earned his doctorate, MBA, and BA degrees from the University of Pittsburgh. Welcome, Marty. Dr. Mark Manchin was named the 26th president of Glenville State University on July 1st, 2020, and has a distinguished career in public and higher education. Dr. Manchin began his career as a teacher here in Greenbrier County in 1976. He has served as superintendent of schools for Webster and Harrison counties, and was appointed superintendent of McDowell County Schools during the time they were under state control. He has served on the Board of Governors for West Virginia University and also served as a member of the West Virginia Senate. So welcome to our distinguished panelists. Thank you all for being here today. So our panel today is about higher education driving change in West Virginia. All of you are doing incredible things on your campus that I know you are proud of, and I am certainly very proud of and thankful for. I'd like you all to tell us what type of innovation is happening on your campus, whether it be the way you're delivering courses, working with business and industry, to bettering research and student services. Dr. Cage, I'll start with you.
Well, thank you so much, Chancellor Tucker, for that invitation. And I want to just begin by expressing my deep gratitude to the Chamber, specifically to Steve Roberts. Because Steve, I met him on our campus back in the second semester, and he really embraced West Virginia State University and came up to me and said, we really want West Virginia State University to be represented at this year's Business Summit, and thanks, Steve, for allowing that to happen. We really appreciate it. Certainly, we know that the higher education landscape is rapidly changing, and certainly COVID-19 accelerated that change in an astronomical way. So all of us in higher education are really forced to make a reset of sort, really working to find new innovative ways to deliver our academic programs and certainly to serve our communities. What I say about West Virginia State University is this. West Virginia State University is West Virginia because 80% of our student body comes from this state. The vast majority of our faculty and staff live in our communities and come from West Virginia. More than 2,000 high school students in West Virginia participate in our dual enrollment programs, and a large majority of our graduates stay right here in West Virginia. So the work that we do each and every day is to transform lives through excellence in education. But as a land-grant university, we have a mission that extends beyond our borders. And as one of the 2 land-grant institutions in the state, of course WVU being the flagship institution, as a land-grant university, we have a mission which is well connected to teaching, to research, and to community service. When it comes to teaching, we're really leaning into the development of high-quality, high-impact partnerships with industry, because we know that industry is the future. It holds the future of our state and of our nation. So it's a list really too long for me to mention of the partnerships that we've created with industry, but I'll just tick off just a few. Partnership with Apple, with Google, IBM, Chemours, Marathon Petroleum, Diversified Energy, AEP, West Virginia American Water, Diversified Energy, EPA, the USDA, and so many others. We are leaning into these partnerships because we want our students to have access to the skills and to the opportunities that will allow them to secure the high-demand jobs of the new economy, because that is our mission, that is our responsibility as an institution of higher education in this great state. When it comes to research, we are certainly doing everything we can as a land-grant institution to further agricultural development here in our great state, and our researchers in our land-grant operation are really doing really phenomenal work. When it comes to service, and this is something that I really like to talk about, because again, one of the things we do lean into is making sure that we are helping to move West Virginia forward. I talk about an initiative that many of you have heard about, and that is our Healthy Grand Families Initiative. Through our Healthy Grand Families Initiative, we are literally serving every county in the state of West Virginia. West Virginia ranks number 2 in the nation when it comes to grandparents raising grandchildren. Through our Healthy Grand Families Initiative, we are providing those grandparents with the supports that they need in order to raise their grandchildren, to help them to become the next generation of West Virginians that are going to lead our state through economic and social prosperity. I also talk about the work we're doing to help solve big problems in our state. We are partnering with West Virginia University, with the West Virginia Department of Agriculture, to solve this issue of a lack of veterinarian technicians in the state of West Virginia. Many of us know that we have pets or animals, farm animals. It becomes very difficult to receive veterinary services. So one of the things that we are doing with our partners is to find a way to help increase the workforce when it comes to veterinarian technicians. And again, this is a partnership we're engaged in with, currently engaged in with West Virginia University, with the Department of Agriculture, and with HEPC, because we know our community and technical colleges play a critical role in this as well. So again, I don't want to take up all the time, but I just want to say that, again, West Virginia State University, I believe that we represent the very best of this state, because we are, in fact, this state. And again, you all know that we have some incredible alumni, one of whom, of course, is Katherine Johnson, who was born right here in White Sulphur Springs, who went on to help put a man on the moon. Other alumni who are in this room, of course, who have gone on to distinguish themselves are people like Ed Gonch, the former Secretary of Commerce here in the state of West Virginia. So again, West Virginia State University, we are here, we are willing, and we are helping to move West Virginia forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cajun. I will tell anyone that if you all know someone who is a grandparent who is raising their grandchildren, I would encourage you to reach out to West Virginia State. Healthy Grand Families is a terrific program that is helping grandparents all over the state of West Virginia figuring out how to navigate waters that they maybe hadn't navigated for the past 30 or 40 years. It's a real challenge for them, and West Virginia State's doing a great job helping them figure that out. Dr. Nemitz, the same question to you. You are in the healthcare field, which certainly needs a lot of innovation and has seen a lot of innovation lately. Can you talk about how the WVSOM is helping?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. And also, again, a shout out to Steve and Susan. What a great business summit. Congratulations and thank you. You know, medical education, I mean, the information load is going like this every day. And so innovation and change is just part of what medical education is all about. So at WVSOM, what we've seen as the cutting edge is simulation, the incorporation of simulation into the medical education paradigm. Because with simulation, you can actually simulate anything and everything, whether it's cases related to diagnosing somebody for pneumonia, to domestic abuse or child abuse or elderly issues. And so WVSOM has created a simulation center that's one of the best in the country. And what we do is it's hands-on learning. So in addition to getting the book learning, which a lot of it is just incorporated online anymore, that you're actually doing hands-on simulations before you actually go out and start seeing patients. The other area so this involves standardized patients, it involves simulators. Realize we have two simulators that go through all the stages of birth. And so then a student can actually experience that before they're in the OB suite. But where things are going next, and actually you saw it at this conference, is virtual reality. So working with virtual reality so that we can create these scenarios, and actually they can be viewed over the internet. And so that's the other piece, is incorporating the new technologies that are occurring and that are needed to deliver health care in West Virginia. So, for example, telemedicine, teaching students how to deal with electronic health records. This is what a simulation center can do. So if you want to see one, come visit us. We're right down the road in Lewisburg, and we'd love to show you what we're doing, because this is the cutting edge of not only medical education. What I would put out there is this is the cutting edge of all education. It's hands-on education. It's education that teaches the student this is where you're taking the knowledge. You're taking the book knowledge and you are applying it. The second area is community engagement. What is so clear, and it was made so evident these last 2 days, is if we do not involve the community in its health, then we will continue to have the problems that we have, and that will affect the businesses in our state, which will then affect the economy. We need to change this. So WVSOM created the Center for Rural and Community Health. It's led by Dr. Dreama Hill, who is this incredible person from Boone County who is making a difference with her staff. And so what are the things we're doing? Some of the things that were talked about at this conference. Tailored programs for communities, where you go into a community. So in Greenbrier Valley, we created the Greenbrier Valley Health Alliance. You get all the stakeholders together. You find out what the needs are, and then you create solutions together. The grant agencies just love this. And the money is flowing, and it's coming to West Virginia so that we can improve the health of West Virginians. And what we're doing is we're piloting programs that we then will plan to send out to the rest of the state and hopefully the nation. The third thing, everything is about collaboration. I mean, my collaboration with my colleagues here, pipeline programs, collaborating with UC on an MBA program and virtual reality. My research collaborations with Marshall and WVU. But here's the thing. WVSOM is celebrating its 50th anniversary of its founding this year. It was created to address the healthcare needs of rural West Virginia. And we did that by producing quality, competent, caring DOs that have populated the rural areas of this state. In fact, WVSOM is the #1 institution, both MD, DO, for rural placement in the state of West Virginia, in the Appalachian region, in the nation, and some people say the world. The first three are all documented by third-party sources. The reality, we're very proud of that, but the reality is we could not have done that without our hospital partners. So, WVU Medicine, Mountain Health Network, CAMC and Mon General, now Vandalia, and all the other healthcare systems throughout the state, WVSOM partners with. You know, there is an African word that my better half, Nancy Bola, and my good friend, President Smith, uses, Ubuntu. And we exist because of others. I am because of you. I know that's true for me, and I know that's true for my institution. WVSOM's success to deliver quality physicians for this state, which is needed for our businesses, it's because of our relationships with other institutions, with our hospital systems. So our success is your success, and I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of it. We are better when we work together. The last thing I want to say is we have an alliance for economic development of southern West Virginia. It was created by Marshall University's former president, Dr. Gilbert. And there are these cards. One of the things we do is we do a business survey each year. We want your input. It's helpful for us. We put that information out there, and then it's useful it's useful for grants, and it's useful for developing projects that will benefit West Virginia. So again, thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Nemitz. It's really nice to have a leader who is so passionate about the work that he does, and so passionate about the work that WVSOM does. You truly have a lot to be proud of, and I'm very grateful that you are there and in that leadership role. President Roth, I hear about UC all the time. You all are constantly in the paper about all of the innovations that you're doing. Would you like to tell us some of the things that UC's been up to lately?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me join this distinguished panel today and share a little bit about the exciting things that are happening at the University of Charleston. So I know I speak for my colleagues that are with me here today. If we're going to be successful as an institution of higher education, it's going to be because we understand and we meet the talent acquisition and development needs of you and your organizations. While we have a mission that we're going to educate each and every student for a life of productive work, enlightened living, and community involvement, that really is only going to be successful if we're able to work with your organizations, provide the same type of experiential learning opportunities that Jim just spoke eloquently about in your organizations. And in so doing, give you an opportunity to see how valuable our students can be to the future of your organizations. So we focus on the core of our business each and every day, and that is making sure that we're going to deliver a great educational experience to our students. We're highly focused on business education, STEM education, and healthcare education. So as Jim mentioned, simulations, virtual reality, the types of things that are going to give students an opportunity to learn about healthcare in real healthcare settings. Learning about business in real business settings are critical. So we try to provide those simulation type of experiences on campus, but also make sure that our students are getting great internships and clinical opportunities in your organizations. One of the things that's really exciting today is how much that we've been able to invest in healthcare technology on our campus due to grants that we've received, and really a shout out to Senators Capito and Manchin for helping the University of Charleston receive some HRSA grants, and also through the HEPC and the funding that they've provided to so many of our organizations to really scale up nursing programs to meet the acute nursing shortage that we know is so critical here in the state of West Virginia. So we've developed a new nursing center, and that will give students an opportunity to utilize Cerner and Epic software, the exact same software that's being used in all the hospital systems that we heard about yesterday. They'll have an opportunity to not only learn how to interact with patients, but also interface with the software technology that's so important in understanding how to best manage patient care. But a lot of our work in terms of innovation is really focused on upstream and downstream. So upstream, we are launching new programs to meet the needs of healthcare professions in the state and in the region. Last year we launched a new family nurse practitioner program for adult learners, so folks who are working part-time, already have a nursing degree, that want to advance and accelerate their career in important ways. Next year we're going to be launching a new Master's of Occupational Therapy program, and a couple years after that a new Doctorate in Physical Therapy program. So we're trying to identify what are the critical and sustained healthcare needs that we're going to be facing here in West Virginia, and developing the academic programs that will help to address those needs. We're also doing some really exciting things downstream. When you think of our institutions, you think of, what do? We enable students to earn a degree which gives them the learning and the experience and the credentials to engage very productively in the workforce. But what we're finding is the interest in non-degree types of initiatives. So we recently launched this summer a leadership certificate program for emergency medical service personnel throughout the state. We really appreciate how committed Governor Justice is, the legislature have been to the emergency medical services industry, and as Speaker Hanshaw eloquently indicated, we all live here in the state. We take for granted but fully expect that when we have a critical care issue that we're going to be able to dial 911 and some emergency medical response team is going to come and provide us with assistance. And we know it's been a struggle to attract people into that industry, but to keep people working in that profession here in West Virginia. So we launched a certificate program. We have 300 EMTs and managers enrolled in the program, and they're not only going to earn a certificate by the end of this year, but they're earning 15 college credits in the process. So it's what we call a stackable certificate. So they're going to earn college credits that they'll be able to apply ultimately to an associate degree or a bachelor's degree down the road. And we're also in the process of launching a new CNA certificate, Certified Nurse Assistant. We know that we have real needs, not only in the hospital systems we heard so much about yesterday, but also in the skilled care sector. So we're working very closely with partners like AM/FM and StoneRise to help them develop the talent pool that they need to serve ultimately our loved ones who are going to need the type of care that their institutions offer. So we're working upstream, we're working downstream, and at the end of the day, a lot of what we've heard over the course of the summit is how important change is for West Virginia to be successful. We're seeing great success stories, and I think we're trying to do the same thing in managing change at the University of Charleston.
Thank you, President Roth. I hope you all are hearing a theme here. Higher education has gotten a bad rap in the public dialogue lately about producing a whole bunch of underwater basket weavers. And I think you're hearing from these presidents, and you're about to hear more, that the opposite is true here. Our presidents are really working hard to meet the needs of business and industry in the state of West Virginia, and I'm tremendously proud of all of the work that they have done. Now to the man who needs no introduction, and last but certainly not least, President Manchin, I will ask you the same question about innovation at the Glenville State University.
There you go. Well, first of all, let me say what a pleasure it is to be here today, and I want to thank the Chamber and Mr. Steve Roberts for giving all of us this forum to speak on something that is near and dear to me. We often say, when we're speaking to our students and anybody who's willing to listen, that there's no other profession, perhaps short of the medical profession, that has such an incredible impact on people's lives as education. For if we do it right, though there's no guarantee, there's a good chance that young man or young woman will go on in this world to be successful. But I can tell you this, there is a guarantee if we do it wrong, particularly in today's society, to send a young man or young woman into this world without the necessary skills to be successful. And I can't help but think, I'm the grandfather of 3 grandchildren and the father of 5, and does not give them every opportunity, and everybody in this room, the opportunity to go on in this world and be successful would be a tragedy. So it's a great opportunity for me to speak about Glenville State University and be on this panel with such distinguished people who have made a difference in a lot of people's lives. You know, we look at education, particularly at Glenville, and Glenville State University now, a little unique in that we served nearly 2/3 of all of our students are first-generation college going. A similar percentage are from lower socioeconomic background. So if we do not serve that niche, there's a good chance that these young men and women who go to Glenville State University will not have the opportunity to be successful. All they ask for is a chance. And we have that opportunity to give them that chance. Education, I would suggest to you, is not necessarily K-12 or higher education. Education is education. It's preparation. And what a great opportunity we have. I look at it at there are 3 different areas. You heard some of my colleagues mention different areas that they look at. We look at 3 different areas in providing education and preparation. Dr. Tucker, you mentioned about innovation. I'd like to think we're innovative, but I also like to think we build upon the practical. Being innovative, sometimes we really work at being innovative, but we also, there's so many things that are just fairly mundane, but if we do them right, it'll make our job that much more successful. We look at 3 things as president, what I look at. First, the health and safety of our students and of our employees and those visitors who come on our campus. It's critical. When a mother and father send their young daughter or their young son off to the university, you want to make sure that they're safe and healthy. We've expanded through technology, cameras that are able to see and document what happens on our campus. We think that's critical. Lighting, advanced lighting for our campus. And of course, we've expanded the number of security on our campus. We want to make sure when a mother or father sends their child to Glenville State University, we want them to know that your child will be safe. That's the least thing you should worry about, and we want to make sure they're safe. Secondly, obviously, is a quality education and the preparation that people need to be successful in life. We are now Glenville State University, which is quite an accomplishment. University, the term university implies that there's a large number of terminal degree professors. We've met that criteria. And also very important in graduate level programs. We've now are providing master's level programs at Glenville. And I've said earlier, we serve a niche of young men and young women who want to go on and be successful. They have the same intellect as students from around not only West Virginia, but this world and this country. Yet they just want to be given that opportunity. So we've expanded the number of master's level programs to 2. Now that may not excite some of you, but when you have 0, that's quite a number. Also, we are looking at additional master's level programs. We're working on an MBA program, and we're working on a master's degree in criminal justice. In the year 3, of course, my provost is a little nervous when I say this, but in year 3, we want to expand it even further to the number of master's level programs. We just think it's so critical to give those people those advanced skills to go out and compete in this world. We are working collaboratively with Marshall University, and I want to thank the way Marshall has worked with small colleges, Glenville. For those who have been to Glenville, I refer to it as bucolic, but it's really nowhere. But it's a beautiful place. You got to get there. We got to get them there. And once we get them there, they love the campus. But we're working with Marshall University and President Smith, who has been terrific. We don't have the resources. We don't have the wherewithal, these small colleges. We would not have that opportunity to provide a BSN program on our campus if it weren't for working collaboratively with Marshall University. We have a great relationship with the West Virginia Osteopathic School, who have reserved some seats for us. For those students who excel, they have a direct pathway into the osteopathic school. So we're working very closely with other universities. I think you must be collaborative. You must work hand in hand, or we're simply not going to be successful. So obviously, we're there to make sure that they have the skills and increase the number of pathways into the workforce. That's what we're there for. That's what we do. And that's what makes my job so great, that we get to touch people's lives in a way that very few people have that opportunity. And the third area that we look at is the college experience. We often overlook that. I want young men and young women to come and have a good time. I often kid with the students. I speak to them quite often. I said, look across that campus. Look across that campus. Your future wife or your future husband's walking across that campus right now. I kid with them sometimes. Maybe your future ex-wife. Maybe your future ex-husband is also walking across that campus right now. But before they can be your ex, they have to be your... So, but the college experience, think about it. For those who, 51 years ago, 52 years ago, oh my goodness, I started college. But the college experience, we put a Starbucks. Now, that may not excite you, but we put a Starbucks at Glenville. You can get whatever, latte, I don't know, but whatever. We can. I'm a Go-Mart guy. I go down to Go-Mart. But the kids love it. They're lined up. We're doing so many great things. We have a new bookstore. We've totally renovated our cafeteria and clubs and the excitement and game day, and all of that goes into the college experience. We often overlook that component to education. I want them to have a fun time. You know, the COVID has really done a number on all of us in remote classes and things of that nature. And you miss that interaction. You miss that interaction with your professor. I like to walk across campus. I see students all the time. The personal component. Now, obviously, we're small. But I just think it's such a critical part of our success. And that's why I love what I do. I was blessed, and I have been blessed. I was told, find a job you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. I've never worked a day in my life. I've been blessed. We get to make a difference in a whole lot of people's lives. And that's what education's all about. And that's why I appreciate this opportunity to speak to this group, and that's why I am very, very pleased to be the president of Glenville State University and working with the people we see up here, which are outstanding educators. So thank you for the opportunity, and like I always tell our students, go out and conquer the world. It's waiting for you. Thank you all.
And you are doing a tremendous job, President Manchin. I promised I'd get you on a plane, so we have to wrap up here. I do have an ask for the business community, and it will be a fast one. We have tremendous programs, as you have heard. We need students. We need you all to help us change the public dialogue about higher education. I need you to talk to your neighbors' children. I need you to talk to your children, your grandchildren, your grandchildren's friends, your neighbors' friends. I need you to tell them that higher education is important, it's affordable, and it's right here at home and can lead to a terrific job. So please help us help you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Molly.
Well, good morning. My name is Evan Jenkins, and I am proudly celebrating 30 years of marriage, and I'm worried that I will take my wife to Glenville State University and walk across campus, and that the president might think I'm in trouble in my marital life, my ex-wife walking with me. What a terrific presentation. Chancellor, thank you for your leadership. Let me go ahead and ask that our Attorney General, our Commissioner of Agriculture, our Auditor, and our Secretary of State come on up and please take a seat on our stage. Let's give them a welcome. I see two, waiting for two more. Good to see you. We're behind you. Oh, there they are.
Sir, brother, how are you? Anywhere you want.
As these gentlemen sit down, let me first say thank you to each of you for being here. It's the 86th Business Summit. This is the Swan Song program. Thank you for the incredible 2-3 days of impactful content, a lot of really good news, a lot of challenging opportunities for the future. But I want to say thank you, and I hope you will join me with a round of applause for the entire Chamber staff for all they have done to make this incredible program special. When I came in this morning, I spoke with Dale at the front door, and he said, wow. We all know Dale. How many years has he been at the Greenbrier? He said, folks, this is the biggest couple of days he has seen in all of his years working at the Greenbrier. That tells you a lot. Well, this is a really powerful, impactful last session. Over this last day or two, we know about some incredible job announcements. We know about policies being put in place that have attracted investment in West Virginia. We've heard from U.S. senators, our governor, but I will tell you, as much as I appreciate a lot of that very high-profile work, ribbon cuttings for business announcements, there are a team of people, our constitutional officers, that are doing work each and every day that have incredible impact on our ability to do business in West Virginia and invest in West Virginia. And these four gentlemen are doing that each and every day. Now, I hope you don't mind my informality. We all know them, so I'm not going to read big bios, and I'm going to call them by their first names, if they don't mind, because we are friends, and you are friends of theirs as well. We, of course, have J.B. McCuskey, our 21st auditor, 2 terms in the House of Delegates, elected in 2016, re-elected. Exciting things happening in the auditor's office. Patrick Morsey, talk about national profile on some big wins at the U.S. Supreme Court. Kind of that leader that was first elected statewide in 2012, re-elected in 16 and 20. Excited to hear about the work of the Attorney General's office. Kent Leonhardt, a fellow beekeeper. I love you. We love our bees. Kent Leonhardt, a true farmer, took a 40-year abandoned farm, had brought it back to life, and doing amazing thing in our Department of Agriculture. And Mac Warner, who wants fair elections and secure elections? And Mac Warner is doing that. He was elected in 2016, re-elected. What's really powerful is each of these individuals, not only elected statewide, re-elected, now have 6 to 10 years under their belt. They're not career politicians, but they are making a career out of serving West Virginia. So let me just jump in right off. Let me go with J.B. McCuskey first. J.B., let me call on you. I will tell you, having worked at the Supreme Court, you were instrumental in this issue of trying to return some integrity and transparency, how money flows. Give me a sense at the auditor's office what you all are doing to impact the government of West Virginia for the people of West Virginia.
Sure. Thanks, Evan, and thanks to everybody that's here. So you guys have heard for the last couple days about how the legislature, and I was sitting with Speaker Hanshaw at dinner last night, and we were talking about how in 2014, the legislature started completely redoing our state code. And we are at a place now where businesses look at us and they say, their laws are good, they're right. And then we have an administration today that has, for the first time in my lifetime, placed the eyes of America on West Virginia, and you see the fruits of that labor. People like Mike Graney and Mitch Carmichael, and importantly, we almost got a little round of applause, but Ed Gaunch, my great friend, who did so much work to make sure that the state was growing economically. The last part of this stool is what are we going to do to make sure that our bureaucracy has the correct size, scope, and effectiveness? And the answer to that question is we have to recommit ourselves to being a data-driven organization. We have to understand why we succeed, and we have to understand why we fail. We have to measure twice and cut once. And unfortunately, in state government, we very frequently cut twice and never measure at all. And the way that we're going to do that is going to begin, middle, and end with data analysis and artificial intelligence. Our office has just finished our final implementation of the first artificial intelligence fraud monitoring system in the United States. We are running 20,000 transactions a day through our Data Robot custom platform. And I can tell you we found our first 2 anomalies just this week in a non-human driven way. The next step is how do we figure out how to improve DHHR's outcomes? How do we improve our educational outcomes? How do we make sure that our roads are being paved in the right sequence? How do we make sure that every single bit of infrastructure that needs laid and put in the ground is done in the right place at the right time and for the right cost? And the answer to that question is we have to, as leaders, be able to humbly say, we're not doing it as well as we could. The first step is to say we could be doing this better. The second step is to design your data collection. We have to understand what we want to know, when we want to know it, and why we want to know it. And then lastly, we have to change our process. We have to stop this constant drive to make everything cost more. So frequently when there's a problem that arises in government, somebody comes to the legislature and says, I need more money to solve this. It is very, very infrequent, if not ever, that somebody comes to the legislature and says, I need less money but a better process. And you guys are all business leaders. You understand that changing the process is always the best option. If you can do what you're doing for less in a better way, it's incumbent on you to do that. So our office is driving a change throughout our bureaucracy that forces people to be data-driven, to analyze their actual work, and to provide every single taxpayer with a confidence that every dollar that is being spent is being used in the best, most efficient way that's causing an outcome to help the people of West Virginia.
Great, thank you, JB. Let me turn to the commissioner next. A little bit of kind of past, present, and future. I'm thinking of the lineup. We have come out of COVID. Hopefully, it's primarily behind us. I know we're talking about pandemic to endemic, but candidly, Commissioner, agriculture, your world, food security, and the issues that the Department of Agriculture deals with. What have you all been through over these last couple of years? Where are you, and where is the department moving forward as we emerge from this pandemic?
Well, Evan, that's a great question, and a lot of people just seem to take it for granted. I hope you all enjoyed your meals here at the Greenbrier, and they were abundant and they were safe. You're welcome. And I do say that on behalf of the entire Department of Agriculture, because when the pandemic hit, you know, the food was being grown, but you started to notice some shortages that happened. The supply chain just dropped, and we're still in that same problem with the trucking industry right now. Fortunately, we had talked about trying to shorten that chain from where the food is grown to where it is actually consumed, and grown and processed, and also then consumed right here in West Virginia. And there was a big gap. So when the pandemic hit and the trucking shortage hit, you started to see some shortages. Well, what we ended up having to do was, and we kept agriculture open in the state. The economy would have been a lot worse had we not done that. So it was very important that we kept that open. And plus, everybody likes to eat. So we had, in our food banks, and I know Chad Morrison's here from Mountaineer Food Bank. We were partnered with them in getting a lot of food shipped out. President Trump's trade mitigation dollars, when the trade war started with China, helped. We brought about $24 million worth of food to feed those in need into the state of West Virginia. But beyond that, We also brought in, you heard about the dumping of milk, raw milk. So what we did in West Virginia, we worked with the Department of Transportation, got United Dairies trucks, weight limits lifted, and we were able to bring a lot more raw milk into the state of West Virginia. So you didn't see the shortages on the shelves of milk that other states saw. You saw Extension and other agriculturalists around the state, and working with our state veterinarian, we were able to bring in thousands of hogs for our local meat slaughter, and that relieves some of the meat pressure. We hired more meat inspectors for the custom cut, and right now we've got about 4 more meat plants that have already come online. You've heard about Buzz Foods down in Charleston. So we're doing those food manufacturing things to shorten that chain, and it's also creating economic activity within the state of West Virginia as well, and it's returning a little bit more revenue to our farmers. Fortunately, we had done some of the regulations that JB had talked about, doing regulations improvements, and farmers markets started to blossom. We're at about 3 times the number of farmers markets in the state from when I took office. We kept our poultry plant open. We didn't have to slaughter any chickens like a lot of other areas did. That all helped with the same program. So those things that we started using the old marina and being prepared for something that we hope never happens actually started to help. And I talked to my fellow commissioners around in our surrounding states, and we didn't have the same shortages that they did. So the work that your Department of Agriculture did, I'm just happy to be the lucky guy to lead it during this time. They did yeoman's work. So if you ever see them, please thank them for what they did to make sure we had a safe and affordable food supply during the pandemic. I could go on for hours about what they did during that time frame, but the result is now our red meat production is up 50%. We have an aseptic processing facility coming in for milk in the Morgantown, and I'll use a little joke. We always use incentives, but we really didn't have to give the farm away to get that business to come in, and there's going to be about 350 jobs just in that plant, and the downstream jobs are going to be in the hundreds of thousands of jobs, 2,000 at a bare minimum of jobs in West Virginia downstream from timber, from dairy. And what we should also see is, as this is doing dairy processing, we should start seeing a migration towards that plant of more dairy farmers. And the technology is there, and I've worked with Senator Capito and Senator Manchin and Congressman McKinley on some dairy initiatives so that we can start improving the dairy industry within the state of West Virginia, because now the new technology allows, people don't want to be a dairy farmer because it's 24/7, 365 days a year. But the process is now you can be a dairy farmer and have a life with the new technologies that are out there. So we're going to be continue to work on those type of programs and improve that industry within the state of West Virginia. So there's an awful lot going on, but I'm proud to be here and glad to talk to everybody, and I'll hang around if people have questions.
Thank you, Kent. Let me turn to Patrick. There were obviously some high-profile decisions this summer from the U.S. Supreme Court that's caught a lot of attention. I will tell you, we all know there was one that caught all of us, our attention, and with great excitement, and that is West Virginia versus EPA. Now, Patrick could give us a wonderful, I'm sure, CLE program on this nuance, but I will tell you his leadership on this issue, the coalition he built, the decision that they earned will be transformational in terms of the responsiveness of federal government sticking to the rule of law and stopping federal regulatory overreach. Thank you, Patrick. Why don't you share with us what some of the impact of that incredible victory that you were able to secure for not only West Virginia, but also for our country?
Absolutely. And first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming here today. Hopefully you'll believe at the end of this panel, you saved the best for last. And so when I was looking, thank you for those kind remarks, Evan, I very much appreciate it. When I was looking at the panels over the last couple days, and I saw the theme of the conference, it says leaders taking action. I thought, well, this is going to be a great panel for the Board of Public Works because these are leaders and it's action, not rhetoric. These are folks every day that are doing things to implement policies and make West Virginia work a little bit better. And so, you know, I know that I have a limited amount of time. Folks who know me know I can go on and talk about things for a while, but I think this has been the most impactful year in the AG's office since I've been there in the last 10. And so what I'd like to do with my limited time is just walk through a couple of the big issues we're working on, focus on West Virginia EPA, but also a couple other big pieces of information that should affect every single business here today and across West Virginia. Big things are happening. Action is occurring. You want to pay attention. First, I think about our office, and every year we try to accomplish 6 to 8 really big things. We lay out an agenda at the beginning of the year, and every time we look at the agenda, we think, how can we help West Virginia reach her potential? And obviously, being here at the Business Summit, this isn't a very challenging concept for you. You look at the regulatory certainty, the predictability. You look at our success on education, on taxes, on healthcare, on workforce preparation, regulatory overreach, infrastructure. We try to do the same thing. But we do it right now through 3 major buckets. One, we defend your state laws. When the legislature passes laws, we step up and we defend it, and we've had a very good batting average. Right now, a lot of the focus up at the Supreme Court is on education, charter school defense, Hope Scholarship defense, argument up at the West Virginia Supreme Court October 4th. We also, though, day to day are doing all the criminal appellate work. We have to keep West Virginia running. Our office needs to run like a Swiss clock, and generally it does. Second bucket, really big in West Virginia in 2022, fighting the opioid epidemic. This has been a groundbreaking year, not only in terms of settlements. Right now, we're poised to have over $500 million in our West Virginia First Foundation. This is going to be real lead on the target in terms of attacking the opioid epidemic holistically from a supply, a demand, and educational perspective. It's the first time ever the state's not only going to have a plan to fight opioid abuse, but actually is going to have the resources to address it. And we're not done yet. We're going to make some announcements pretty soon about some additional monies that we think will come in. And separately, we're here to tell you today, every single West Virginia county is now on board West Virginia First. That's the state, 55 counties, most of the municipalities. This is going to be a game changer for the state of West Virginia. I won't spend too much time going through the mechanics of it, but you should look at it. It's on our website. It's going to make a big difference. Final bucket, chasing down federal overreach. Many of you know that's a big passion of mine, one of the major reasons I ran for Attorney General. We can make a huge difference in our state if we ensure that the federal government and state government accords with the rule of law. And that's certainly my goal as the state Attorney General. And nowhere was that more evident than our landmark West Virginia v. EPA case that came out this summer. Significant victory, ostensibly on the issue of climate change, to give West Virginia more time to engage in transition. But in reality, it goes to the core question of who gets to make the fundamental decisions in our society. Should it be unelected bureaucrats who reach down and seize power through an ambiguous phrase, or should it be Congress? Should we look for that clear delegation from Congress to the federal agency so that all states in the union have a chance to participate in the process? Fortunately, the U.S. Supreme Court, after 9 years, came out with a landmark 6-3 decision. We think this could be one of the most impactful separation of powers cases in decades, and I think it's going to mean great things for West Virginia and every regulated business, because now you get to fight back against the swamp with a pretty potent weapon. And so this is what West Virginia VPA has done for you, and we have more things in the future. I could go on. We're fighting and leading nationally against the SEC's ESG rules that will hurt West Virginia, defending your Second Amendment rights up at the Supreme Court, big wins there. And then we got a really, really cool tax issue that we're litigating, running a national coalition in the 11th Circuit. All that conversation you heard about how tax cuts should go in West Virginia, and I'm a big advocate for that, put me in the reduce the income tax bracket mode. That case down in the 11th Circuit, if we win, West Virginia could have $1 billion in surplus it could push toward tax reduction just through some of the interpretations of the American Recovery Act and the resulting economic growth that we've seen. Big stuff for West Virginia. We're going to keep taking on big issues, action, not rhetoric. Thank you all for being here, and I hope I stayed within my relative time limits.
Thank you, Patrick. Well, I know Mac Warner has November 8th circled on his calendar. I hope it is circled on yours. But he's not showing up just for one day. He has been working for years about election integrity and security. I also know that the clerks throughout West Virginia appreciate the good working relationship with the Secretary of State. We all want fair elections. We want them with a lot of integrity. Mr. Secretary Mack, tell me about your preparations for this November and how can we as a public be reassured that in West Virginia we will be a beacon of integrity in our election process.
Well, thank you, Evan, and everybody. It's a real honor to be on the stage with such a distinguished group of really competent and effective public servants. And to be here at this business summit with all of you who are so highly competent and effective as well. And I do want to do a shout out to Steve and the Chamber of Commerce for holding this summit and to paying tribute to perhaps one of the best, the greatest of the greatest generation, our own West Virginia's Woody Williams, and recognize what he did for our entire country to give us this opportunity to thrive with our business community. So what is the Secretary of State doing talking to you in the business community? Well, Evan started to lay it out there, and I start back with our Declaration of Independence. We're all familiar with that very famous line that all men are created equal. They're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of justice. But you see, Thomas Jefferson wanted me to have a job, so he didn't stop right there. He put the next line in there that said, to secure those rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So how do you get the consent of the governed? In a free society, you do it through an election. And so those elections do have to be free and fair. And that's the job that I've got as the state's chief elections officer. You see, some of the states, there are about 7 of them across the United States, that have problems in the confidence the people have in the confidence in their elections. And it became a large problem because of COVID. But COVID doesn't give you, in our Declaration and our Constitution, it doesn't give you the right to change those rules simply because you're facing a pandemic or a hurricane or something else. You maintain confidence by what Patrick Morrissey was just talking about and has been talked about throughout this conference, our leaders, and that is the rule of law. And when the legislature, our legislature has done a magnificent job. We have moved to the top tier across the United States in election confidence because we have great laws that balance access versus security. You need both of those to have confidence. And when you have confidence in elections, then you have confidence in the leaders. If you don't have confidence in the elections, you don't have confidence in the leaders, and I think we're seeing some of that across the United States right now. So my job is to play it by the books. And so when the legislature says, if they say you have to stand on the head to cast your vote, that's my job, is you've got to stand on your head. Now, other states changed it. Pennsylvania said you can take votes up to 3 days after. Georgia had drop boxes. Wisconsin and Michigan, you didn't have to have signature verification. They changed it because it sounded convenient. They may have had good intentions, but it causes confidence to drop in your elections. We didn't do that in West Virginia. That's how we maintain confidence in our elections. Now, to transfer that to your world, once we have confidence in the people that we elect and confidence in our government, see, sometimes you don't always get the answer you want, but in the business world, once you have an answer, you can adjust for it. You can make your business plans around the new rules, the new tax structure, that sort of thing. It's when you don't know if everybody's going to keep changing the rules in the middle of the game, then you can't plan accordingly. So my job, see, the largest part of my office is the business and licensing division. And so that's how we then transfer this election confidence into the business world. And so we do things, we're leveraging technology. We've come up with the expedited services fees. Folks, this is a fantastic thing where the government is working like you do your businesses, and that is you can come in and you get a 24-hour service, you can get a 2-hour service, you can get a 1-hour service. We've created hundreds of thousands of dollars where I don't have to go back to the legislature to run my office. We hire people. We've moved the business one stop now. It is fully accessible. Let me give you just one example. When Nucor came in, and this wasn't anything out of the ordinary because it's a big firm, they got their licensing done in 11 minutes at our business one stop. And folks, I hope that we can do that for every one of you. Don't guarantee it, but I hope that we can do that. They just happen to hit at the right time. That's how the Secretary of State's office is trying to help you and your business, and that is through our business one stops in Martinsburg, in Clarksburg, here in Charleston. We have the expedited service fees. We're moving everything online, folks, everything from notaries to charities, to marriage celebrants, to athlete agents, to charitable foundations, to trademarks, to scrap metal dealers, 24/7, get online, register your business, and go to work. So, folks, that's why I love my job, is both in that elections and in the business arena. Folks, if I can help you with one of your problems, folks, I focus on customer relationships every day. My folks love to be able to get response from you that things are working well. If something isn't working right in the Secretary of State's office, please let me know, because if I'm solving it for you, I'm probably solving it for everybody in this room. I love the job. Please let me hear from you. Come visit us at the One Stop, and thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mac.
Sure.
I'm going to look for a little guidance. I've got a long list of questions, but I could do one lightning round if Brian thinks we have time, or Steve. I've got a thumbs up. Quick lightning round. JB, you didn't mention it but I use it all the time. The wvcheckbook.gov talk about, and Mac talks about restoring trust in our public institutions. That's what each and every one of you do. And we see across this country, public trust in institutions is being attacked. And I think your transparency, wvcheckbook.gov, talk about that, educate folks on where they can go to learn more about where we're spending money.
Sure. So I talked a little bit before about how we need to be a data-driven state. So that permeates into the media and into all of our voters. We made it our mission to make West Virginia the most transparent state government in the United States. And I can tell you that you are currently sitting in the most transparent state in the United States. We are committed in our office. We are committed in our office to one singular concept, and that is that every single dollar that the state takes in and spends is yours, which means that every single receipt about how that dollar was spent is also yours. Every piece of information about how that dollar was spent is yours, and it should be yours in real time, and it should be yours without any filter from the government. And what this is really about, ladies and gentlemen, is accountability. And you have 4 people sitting in front of you who are willing to take your questions and talk to you about how they've led this state forward. But that accountability stops when the bureaucracy hides the information. Today, you have more access to what your government is doing with your money than you've ever had in the history of this world. And what I'm telling you right now is the thing that we all need to do is you need to use it, and you need to tell us how we are supposed to spend your money. The government speaks through spending, and there is a priority of spending that is supposed to match what our constituents want. The only way we can do that is if you go in the ballot booth knowing exactly what we've done, and you come back to us and say, I need you to do this. And if we don't do that, vote for the other guy. But if we do that, I need you to tell all your friends that this is a government that listens to our priorities, this is a government that tells us what they've done, and this is a government that trusts their work so well that they're willing to open up all of their books to show you exactly what we've done. And that is what you get when you have people who are confident in their actions, and that is the government that you have in front of you. Thank you, Evan.
Kent, we have worked hard these last few days. We have a holiday weekend. It's time to have a little recreation. I think there's a connection between agriculture and recreation in West Virginia. Is there an interlink, and how does that work?
Yes, Evan, thank you for that question. There is definitely a link, but people don't realize there's a link. You're down here in the Greenbrier Valley, and you play golf or you do some of the river stuffs. How many get eaten up by black flies? Very few, right? I only saw 2 hands.
I got red hair.
Yeah, that helps, you know. But it'd be a lot worse. I don't know if people don't realize that the Department of Agriculture runs the black fly control program in the state of West Virginia. Think about the New River Gorge National Park designation and all those beautiful trees. The Department of Agriculture keeps those forests healthy, particularly, and we're continuing with the slow the spread on the white oak and the red oak trees. And that also helps our timber industry, because without those trees, and white oak's the #1 selling tree right now as far as dollar volume. So the Department of Agriculture is responsible for that. I was fortunate to take some of my fellow commissioners when we held a conference in Canaan Valley of the Southern Association of State Departments of Agriculture, and I took them fishing on the south branch of the North Fork of the Potomac River, which had been recently delisted from agricultural hazards and pollution. So to take those commissioners fishing to show how agriculture and the environment are working together was very, very important. So we work very closely. I chair the State Conservation Committee, and we do all the soil and water conservation around the rest of the state with the conservation supervisors that you all elect, at least 2 per county. Then you have the other obvious things, such as the Farm to Tables was an initiative out of the Department of Agriculture at the state parks. If you haven't been to a state park farm to table dinner, I encourage you to do so. I've been to a number of them. They're extremely well done. They're delicious. They're featuring primarily West Virginia grown products. It's tourism, it's recreation, and you can have a great time. So I encourage you all to do that. It's been a great partnership with the state parks in that realm. And there's many other things. We have a person full-time on staff that helps coordinate the agritourism industry. And the legislature has, as we've talked about, reduced regulations and given some liability protections for occasional use of barns and things of that nature for haunted houses or wedding barns and things of that nature. So that's all been working very well, and agritourism is growing in the state of West Virginia as well. So there is quite a connection, and I would thank you for the opportunity to share that with everybody.
That's great. Thank you. You know, Patrick, you made reference to the opioid litigation, and we know that there's still suits in process, to be filed, appeals. It's complicated. But one of the things your leadership and the vision has been to take these settlement funds and put a significant amount in trust and establish a foundation. We've heard a lot about the infrastructure bill from the feds and how that money will come to fund projects in West Virginia important for our state. Why don't you share with us, because of the success in your opioid litigation, the funding that's been set aside, and how we will see that impact West Virginia moving forward?
Absolutely, and thank you for that opportunity. We are going around the state starting to explain this to many people, because this is so critical for our shared desire to have the highest quality workforce in America. And we have to address the opioid epidemic aggressively. And I'm very hopeful that this West Virginia First Foundation is going to save a generation from senseless death. So what we wanted to do this time with the opioid epidemic, and there's a lot of background to this, but we want to ensure that the money doesn't get wasted. It doesn't go down the black hole. We've seen how government works in the past, and we want to make sure that there's accountability for the money and that the money is targeted to those who need it most. So what we did for the first time ever, the West Virginia state government, through its Attorney General's office, negotiated an agreement with all of the counties and the vast majority of the subdivisions in the state. I think this stage we're at about 99% of the represented population in West Virginia. And the goal behind that was to ensure that there would be a shared voice between leaders in the state and also members of the political subdivisions. So if you're a resident of Cabell County or Jefferson County or Kanawha, that you'll know that you're not only having to go and rely on some state-based effort, but since this litigation is really shared litigation between the state and the political subdivisions, you'd come together behind one structure that represents the subdivision and the state's interest. How is that going to be run? Well, first of all, anytime settlement money comes in, it's governed by the terms of this agreement, West Virginia First. 3% of every dollar that comes in gets held back by the state for anticipating future litigation. And this is my effort, quite frankly, to be prudent with taxpayer dollars in case there are unintended costs. We're obviously looking to work with the legislature to ratify a number of these important provisions as well. 24.5% of all the dollars go directly to the counties and cities. And that was done because a lot of the counties and cities were very worried about costs they were incurring to address the opioid epidemic. Think of the regional jail fees. I can't tell you how many counties I've been to across West Virginia where people complain about the amount of money they're paying for regional jail fees. There will be resources for them to address that critical problem. That's 24.5%, and the monies were allocated based upon agreement by the political subdivisions. I actually tried to let them negotiate that for themselves so that all counties would say they had the right role in the process and there wasn't interference from the state. And then you get to the final piece, and that's the foundation money. 72.5 cents of every dollar will go into a foundation that is designed to spend money based upon permissible uses under the settlements. There are strategies that are built on the governor's substance abuse task force that we're pulling from, and that's a significant part of the effort. And then there are different pieces that are required to be done on the basis of the national settlements that have been put forth. As of right now, I was doing some calculating before coming here, we're getting close to $500 million alone in the foundation bucket. That's the 72.5 cents on the dollar. Now, we're now setting up the C4. We're working with the counties. We're coming up with answers to frequently asked questions. And the goal is going to be to have something in place, I hope, by the end of the year. And then the money will be run like a traditional foundation. There will be obviously significant upfront money based on needs assessments that are performed across the state and within all of the counties. But there will also be money that's preserved for the future. That's critical because you don't want to spend all the money in one shot. You want to make sure this is done for a long period of time. And that's critical because the settlement money comes in over a prolonged period. Some of the settlement money comes in within 30 days, 60 days. Other bits of money come in over a 15-year period. So there'll be 11 board members running it. 6 are representatives from the regions themselves. 5 will be picked by the governor, and then I will pick the executive director. So that's how it's structured right now, and we're getting great reaction to it. I will tell you, it's very, very hard to get every single county and every major city on board something like this. We spent 6 months negotiating 4 hours a day to try to put something together. But this is the future of West Virginia. It's going to represent monies to really attack this problem throughout the whole continuum of care. And I really think we can stop having another generation fall prey to senseless death.
That's great. Thank you, Patrick. Mac, you truly get the last word. Let me just ask you to expand a little bit more. You've got the business community in front of you. I don't know if you all know this, but thanks to Kaylin and the incredible staff, they are also streaming the Business Summit, I think maybe almost in its entirety for these past 2 to 3 days. And she's been sharing the matrix of online activity, and it's amazing. So once again, they are taking this message long and far. Your story of Nucor and the ease with which to get registered is impactful. Because they are such an impactful company. Let's talk, conclude us, bring us home on, again, you are the front door to West Virginia. You are an opportunity to create first impressions. Those impressions are lasting impressions, and clearly it's working. What else are you doing to make that powerful first impression that is giving us great kudos in your office and your work?
Well, thank you, Evan, and I think this is a great way to end up the summit because I want to leave you with a vision of hope here, all right? We do have these challenges within the elections arena. We have it in the business community. In this election arena, watch this next year. There's going to be a huge case. It's going to be equivalent basically almost to the West Virginia versus EPA type case in setting precedent. It's Morvia Harper out of North Carolina, and what that case is about, it's called the independent state legislator theory, okay? And what it's doing, it's going to empower the state legislature. So we're having this issue right now. The Amendment 4 on our ballot this year is about impeachment. Remember, we went through the impeachment of our Supreme Court justice, and the question was, does the legislature get to make that call, or does the Supreme Court, or the judges, and so on? Well, in the elections arena, what I talked about earlier is these 7 different states had their own visions. They changed the rules, whether it was the Secretary of State or what it was judges and courts and so forth. This suit out of North Carolina may make the determination that legislatures get to make the call. You see, back to the rule of law. Article 1, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution says the time, manner, and place of elections shall be left to the state legislature. So it's pretty clear there. That's why I'm hopeful that they're going to make that decision. When they do, a lot of this ambiguity is going to go away. Right now, the left's going further left, the right's going further right. And how do you pull us back together? A vision with a rule of law, and it's everybody can abide by it at that point. So that's the vision that I want to leave with you, is that there is hope. We're not there yet. We're going to be divided through this election. You're still going to hear CNN and Fox and everybody going at it on the 2 sides, but I think that we're going to have a vision that comes out before the 2024 election, at least that's my hope, that's going to resolve all that. So now back here inside the state with regards to the business community and so forth, first of all, folks, I hope you noticed if you go get your driver's license renewed, we've dropped the 50 cents little fee. You see, when the motor voter law was passed in 1993, everything was done by paper. You had a 50-cent fee to transfer that registration from the DMV over to us. We've modernized, okay? We've gotten rid of that. So July 1st, we dropped that. We're using technology, and folks, here's what I want to leave you with. West Virginia has more ways to vote than any other state. West Virginia is leading the nation. We were the first this time using GIS mapping with WVU to clear up all these 100-member, single-member districts that the legislature has passed. It was a great move, and we used WVU first in the nation. By 2024, there will only be 5 states that are going to be equivalent to West Virginia. We are leading the nation in the confidence in the elections. You've heard what each of the folks up here on the panel are doing to move West Virginia forward. This summit, I mean, the fantastic attendance here shows West Virginia's turned the corner. We're on the rebound. We're moving up. The legislature's doing a wonderful job with its business plan. You saw that. Craig Blair held it up this morning. So anyway, I'm energized. I'm thrilled about where we're going as a state. And again, I appreciate this opportunity to talk with you today.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you. I know our chief election officer cannot make endorsements, but it sure sounded like something I want to say. Amendment 4 should be a yes vote. We also heard Amendment 2 should be a yes vote, and also all of the amendments should be yes on the ballot, all 4 this November. Let's give our incredible constitutional officers a round of applause for a job well done.
Good job.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to Susan. I hope you have a wonderful 2 years of your leadership. I will tell you, I am excited. Steve, the staff, we at the Chamber have always had the right leader at the right time, and we know that this is going to be an exciting 2 years.
Good. How are you? Thanks, Patrick. Good to see you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Evan. I appreciate it. Thank you, Evan. I certainly appreciate that. We are getting close to wrapping up here, but we've got a couple of things that I know folks are going to want to know about, door prizes. So first of all, these 3 I'm looking for Steve here. Which booth were these 3 at? ARH. Sorry about that. Thank you. ARH. So here are 3 names. You have won prizes at the ARH booth. Bonnie Bell Copenhagen, Paige Withrow, and Kirsten Perkins. So if you all are here in the room, go to the booth. You have won that. And then also want to make an announcement for those of you who have stayed here till the end. We have a free copy of Chris Steyerwalt's new book called Broken News for everyone here. You can get it in the back of the room as you leave. So we ask you to pick up a copy of that. And then also here are the winners of the Chamber event. So the Fiesta Wear dinnerware goes to Michelle Christ. I don't know if Michelle is in here yet. Michelle's my porch partner. Is she in there? Michelle, are you back there? We'll find her. Oh, there she is. All right, Michelle, you've won it. Fiesta Wear. And then the West Virginia Products gift basket is Cheryl McKinney. And then the other West Virginia Products gift basket is Christy Ash. And then the grand prize, 2-night, 3-day winter stay at the Greenbrier, is Tammy Crabtree. So join me in congratulating those folks. All right, we are just about wrapped up here. So I want to take one last time to thank the chamber staff for everything that they have done to make this an incredible meeting. So if we can give them one last round of applause. And I also want to say thank you to our sponsors as well, and to the Greenbrier and to the Greenbrier staff for taking such great care of us. We are looking forward to the next year as everyone in this room goes and does great things for the state of West Virginia. So thank you all. Please travel safe, and we so appreciate you coming to the 86th Annual Business Summit. Thank you. Goodbye.